Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's Eagle Pass Independent School District regular meeting. Today being Tuesday, November 11, 2025, we are at the District Service Center, and we're calling this meeting to order. It is 6 p.m. at this time. Mr. Mijares, will you please lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one nation.
Also, on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank all the veterans for their service. Thank you. At this time, we will move to roll call. We have Mr. Christopher Hiller, our secretary, present. Mr. Victor Perry, present. Mr. Morris Lipson, present. Mr. Jaime Barrera, present. Mr. Tom Gonzalez, present. Our superintendent of schools, Mr. Mijares, present. We have our attorney, Ms. Valerie Carrillo, present. We also have our Vice President, Ms. Hilda P. Martinez, present, and myself, Jorge Barrera, present. At this time, we will move to citizens communications and recognitions. We will have our citizens communications first, and we have Mr. Luis Aranda.
Good afternoon, citizens of the community and board. My name is Luis Aranda. If you read my emails, you must know who I am by now. Each of you has received documentation that supports every statement I'm about to make. It has now been 50 days since the incident at Serna Elementary, and the district still has not provided parents with a clear, public explanation of what went wrong. Not private interviews, not statements that later get taken down by press. Parents deserve answers that stay on the record. 50 days without accountability, 50 days without transparency. We need clear explanations of how the system you claim was placed failed this community. If a system truly existed, then your staff was not properly trained to follow it. The threat at Serna Elementary exposed a district that ignored its own policies, failed to notify local law enforcement, and waited an entire day to inform parents that their children were in danger. Your own handbook states that local law enforcement must be notified immediately in the case of a terroristic threat. That did not happen. The Eagle Pass Police Department was left out of the loop because someone chose to handle it internally. That was not a communication lapse, it was negligence. The district then held a press conference where your own police chief stated, and I quote, "And I want to make this clear, at no point am I required to notify city PD, county, or any other agency that we're conducting an investigation. Look at your own policies and tell me this administration is not making its own rules. Rules that directly contradict the very handbook you approved, which each of your names on that cover. And now, nearly 2 months later, you expect parents to believe the threat will not be carried out. How can you make that claim when your own department still hasn't identified who wrote the note? Was the investigation completed? If it was, then release the evidence. It's that simple. Redact the names and release those notes. You've had no issue sending out alerts about other incidents since then. Threats at other schools, lockdowns because of nearby shootings. But the one incident that exposed how broken your system is truly broken remains unanswered. Eagle Pass is not immune to violence. We've seen it in our community and even near our schools. And for anyone in this administration who still believes that these things cannot happen simply because they're children, look up the case of A.B. Swartner, a teacher in Virginia who was shot by her 6-year-old student after warning her own administration about the threat. That's what ignoring looks like. Your silence is not transparency. Your delay is not due process. It's avoidance, and this community sees it for what it is. Every one of you sitting here tonight has the authority and the responsibility to demand the truth for this administration, so please do it. Stop hiding behind the Texas Public Information Act. Stop waiting for the Attorney General, and stop pretending this community doesn't deserve answers. The parents of Eagle Pass aren't asking for much, just honesty. The district failed to follow its own rules, and you owe this community an explanation. We cannot fix what is broken if we're not told what failed. This isn't about politics or blame, it's about responsibility. And the longer you stay silent, the clearer it becomes you've chosen to protect your image over protecting our children. And our children deserve better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Aranda. We will now move to recognitions. Number one, recognition of 27 Eagle Pass High School students for being awarded the School Recognition Award, National First Generation Recognition Award, or the National Rural and Small Town Award, NRSTA, by the College Board.
Good evening, Mr. President, distinguished members of the board, and of course, Superintendent Mijares. Thank you for allowing me to spend some time with you this evening. Our first recognition for tonight is to let everyone know that Eagle Pass High School is oh so proud to recognize the 27 outstanding Eagles who were recently recognized by College Board. These students have earned a school recognition, first generation recognition, or a natural and rural small town recognition. The School Recognition Award was introduced this school year and celebrates students who have demonstrated academic excellence within their school community. Way to go, Eagles! The future is looking bright. At this time, we invite our school board and superintendent to come forward for photos with these excellent students. All right, while we're going to get the picture set up at this time, parents, if there's any of you who'd like to come to the middle row, you may do so as we are continuing to set up. You can come to the middle to get your photo at this time. Students, we're going to make 2 rows, so if some of you can take a step down, perfect. Thank you. Yes, parents, you can come to the middle to get your photo before we get our official one on iVision. And just to let everyone know, all photos taken by iVision staff tonight are free for download on our district website tomorrow morning. The official photo will be free for download on our website tomorrow morning.
They don't make those anymore, John.
next, we are going to recognize the 11 amazing Wynn High School Mavericks for their recognition by College Board. These industrious young students have been recognized by College Board as either a school recognition, first generation, or a national rural and small town winner. These students were able to claim their top prize because of either their 3.5 GPA or a high/outstanding score on their PSAT. Congratulations, Mavs. Way to get over those school bumps. Once again, at this time, if there are any parents who'd like to come to the middle to get a photo of their child, you may do so at this time. Racing up our way next is the very loud, the very proud Wynn Varsity Cross Country Team, also known as your 28 5A District Team Champions. These boys lead the school in academics and athletics, so let's give your Wynn Varsity Cross Country Team a big round of applause. If there are any parents who'd like to come up to get their photo, you may do so at this time. And just a reminder, all photos taken tonight by iVision will be free for download tomorrow morning on our district website. We're going to ask for the cross-country boys to take a seat in the front row as we round out tonight's recognition. We are pleased to recognize CC1 High School's very own Dante Jimenez for racing his way into the 28 5A Cross-Country District Championship. The future is looking very bright for this young racer. If Dante's family is here, we invite you to join us in the front to join us in the photo.
There was one more, the recognition of the 2025 accountability rating and distinctions, but that will be done at the next board meeting. Not in this one. So now we will move to district reports and presentations. We will take 1 through 4 together. No, 1, 2, 3 together. How are we doing? 1, 2, and 3.
Hello, 1, 2, 3. Yes, please turn to page 44 of your agenda. And we continue to do well with our finances. We have 2 months of operations. Our revenues exceed our expenditures. Total revenue as of October 31st, we have 27 million. It exceeds our year-to-date expenditures of 17 million. Total revenue percentage received 22. We're at 22% and expenditures at 17%. We already have a complete year of our utilities, our retrofit that we had in 2019. For this year, we've saved $754,810. That's a complete savings over a 12-month period. That's an 18% reduction in our expenditures for utilities, mainly electricity. Tax report, we continue to collect well with our taxes. We should be over 96%. We have 2 months of operation, and we've collected close to 10% of our taxes. We are expecting to collect most of our taxes at the end of January. Are there any questions?
Any questions by the board? No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mijares. We will now move to number 4, presentation of the free Texas Child Health Access through telemedicine TCHATT services. Hello.
Oh, there it goes. All right. Hi, thank you so much for having me. My name is Sarah Martin. I'm a child psychiatrist from Texas Tech El Paso, and I have April Corral, the clinical director for our program. The overall director for our program. And the program that we're going to talk about for a very short time today is a free state-funded mental health program. It's called Texas Child Health Access through Telemedicine. And the title doesn't really, the acronym doesn't really describe exactly what it is, but it is a virtual mental health program where every child in a district that signs up in the state of Texas can get up to 8 free mental health sessions. In addition, also can get 8 free psychiatry sessions. So either therapy or psychiatry or both together. We've had several districts in the area join, and so we hope that you guys will join us too. We love doing this work. We're very honored to do this work, and hope you guys will be interested. It's one of the big advantages of this program is that the children are identified very early on. You all see them long before I, as a psychiatrist or even a doctor or pediatrician, would see them. You guys have them every day. And so it's been working really well to intervene early in a child's, when they're having problems. So children, teenagers, we take them all. We do preschool all the way through age 22. If you have special ed kids that are, sometimes in 22, 21, around there. So we would be very happy to answer any questions from the board or from the audience. And one more thing. One great thing about this program is that because the children are still located in the school physically, then it doesn't have to count as an absence. And it's very convenient also for working parents. They can be at work and they can dial in, and then the child can be at school and then dial in. And most schools implement it through their school counselors. So we work very closely with them if you guys are interested in this program, and we'd be so glad to have you. Thank you so much.
Any questions from the board? Administration? Okay. Thank you very much. Now we'll move to presentation number 5, Presentation on bond election by the EPISD Facilities and Improvement Committee, Financial Advisor, and Bond Counsel.
Good afternoon, board members.
Afternoon.
Mr. Mijares, members of the community. My name is Claudio Heredia, and I was unfortunately picked to be the chairperson of the Facilities Committee. I didn't know what it was until we got together back in May 15 of this year. And basically, the committee was given the mission to analyze and consider the priorities of all the campuses within our district. And it took us quite a few months and quite a few meetings. We also did on-site inspection of some of the facilities, campuses. And so we gather a lot of information, not only from the school district, but from the staff that work there, from different sources. So I'm going to speak generally what we found. And our purpose was to give you, as board members, our suggestions. The committee was formed, I believe we had about 18 members. Most of them were community leaders, activists, people that are concerned about the progress of our school district, our children. And so our intent was to do what was best for the children and, of course, the school district. And what we were asked to do was to look at what are some of the repairs that were essential, that are needed, what are some of the improvements that are needed for the different facilities, the additions, and we were asked to consider the enrollment that we have. I know we've lost some students from last year to this year. We were asked to look at the conditions of the facilities, the campuses, the structures. We were asked to look at the priorities, and I'm going to talk generally about the priorities. We were asked to look at the budget. Obviously, whenever you repair something or build something or add something, it's going to cost money. We were invited and we were able to visit the following campuses. I may miss one or two, but we went to the Eagle Pass High School, Eagle Pass Junior High campus, C.C. Wynn High School, Memorial Junior High, Juan Seguin Elementary, Kennedy Hall, Early Childhood Center, and I think we may have, did we go to San Luis or not?
We didn't make it to San Luis.
Okay, we were scheduled to go to San Luis for whatever reason, we weren't able to do that. But what we did is we got some information from the different campuses, from all of them basically, from the staff and from the school district as to the priorities. And I'll give you some examples. In some of the buildings, obviously our roofs have deteriorated, so we have leakage problems. Some of the roofs are coming to the end of their lifespan, so we need to prepare for repairs or putting new roofs on some of the buildings. Most of the roofs are guaranteed for about 30 years. Some of them are 25 years old, so we know that we have to replace some of those. Like the high school, the AC heating system has deteriorated. And as we know, in Texas, we have some very high-digit heat spells. And so we need to have proper air conditioning for our students. During the winter, obviously, it gets very cold, so we need to have some warm temperatures for them. So those are priorities, the roofing, the air conditioning, the heating. The other priority that we looked at was access to the buildings. As we know, we've been faced with very unfortunate incidents where people have gone into schools, churches, places where people congregate, and they've acted violently. So in order to protect our children, I know the school district has been very diligent in putting up fences. There's some campuses that need to be strengthened as far as the fences, the access to the building. I know we're doing our best, but there's some areas where we can improve in those areas. Proper access to the facilities, people that are handicapped, people that have children that are handicapped, elderly people that go to activities that occur within the campuses. We need to improve some of the access, physical access to the buildings, and that it was incorporated into some of the recommendations that we made. And for purposes of giving you the information, we went through each campus, the committee did, and we ranked the priorities, what was needed. And one of the things that we did in our study was we separated what is needed as to what is wanted. Unfortunately, sometimes we want things that we cannot afford or things that we really don't need. And so what we wanted to do was concentrate on the things that are needed for each campus, because obviously we're going to have to spend money and come up with a budget. To that end, we also looked at different plans. So the committee will be giving you some alternate plans where you can look at the cost of the repairs of the additions. There's some recommendations to maybe do away with a campus or two, because the population has moved. We have less students. And so we're asking for you to consider maybe closing down a campus and adding more structures to existing campuses to meet the needs of the community as we see the growth taking place within our city. So I'm going to turn it over to Katrina. Katrina is the co-chairperson, and she probably has some more information to share.
Good evening, everyone. I think you all know me. I'm Katrina. I served along with Mr. Heredia on the facilities chair, on the facilities review committee, just to determine whether there were different items that needed to be addressed by the school district, both from a maintenance perspective and from a new construction perspective. Obviously, as you all know, that I'm always going to look at something from the eye of the disability community and the accessibility. And so that was one of the things that Mr. Powell we identified in the very first meeting as needing to address the accessibility for the individuals in our community that may be disabled and our student population that are disabled. And so I do want to thank Mr. Powell. It was like herding cats for the most part with the diverse group of people that were on this review committee. But Mr. Powell found a way to keep us focused and keep us I guess identifying where the needs were. He created a great ranking system that really helped us hone in on what the needs versus the wants and what were priorities as far as the committee was concerned. He may be speaking about this in just a second, but we were tasked with looking at 3 different items, specifically safety, security, and accessibility. And so all of our assessments and all of the things that we did as far as reviewing the facilities had those 3 overarching themes that we were identifying, and you'll be able to see in the report. And I don't know, are you going to present the PowerPoint, Mr. Powell?
I wasn't planning on it.
No, was that supposed to be us? Okay, well then I see that it's here, so let me pop that up on the screen. With respect to, let me see. I may or may not. There we go. Okay. So I'll just go through this real quick. I think Mr. Heredia already touched on what we were trying to do here, but here's the list. We met over the course of pretty much the summer, different times that we met in person, different times that we met via Zoom, and different times that we actually met at the campuses and saw the campuses themselves. Ahead of our meetings, and I think ahead of the start of the process, most of the campuses were polled on what their priorities were. So this isn't just something that a committee just came up and said, here's what we think you need. The campuses were given meaningful opportunities to provide their input as to the things that they needed. As mentioned, we looked at this from 3 different perspectives: the perspective of safety, security, and accessibility. And we looked at things district-wide, like roofs, HVAC systems, gym flooring, things that were in need of repairs. And so what you have up on the screen right now is you have using the ranking system that Mr. Powell came up with. And again, it was a task to get us all focused and get us moving in the right direction. He provided a ranking system that helped us identify the high priority items. You can see number 1 on the list is the replacement of the HVAC systems at Eagle Pass High School, the replacement of the chillers at CC Wynn. Fencing in front of Memorial was also a very high priority. Fencing and guardhouse in front of EPJ, a high priority, and a double door into ECC dining hall. That was ranked up pretty high. Then you'll see the items in red are items that district-wide are needed, and they ranked pretty high as far as priorities were concerned. The controlled entry points, I think Mr. Heredia mentioned the safety concerns being one of the primary concerns, and having controlled entry points at each and every campus, sort of retrofitting most of the campuses that didn't have them to have the controlled entry points. Accessible routes into and around campuses, that was a theme throughout the whole campus, throughout the whole district, was most of our campuses are not truly accessible for individuals with disabilities, and so that ranked pretty high up there, especially in all the different campuses that we were able to actually physically go and inspect. You could tell there was room to be desired in that department. The PA system replacement was a high ranked. From what I understand, the systems that we have in place school district wide are rather antiquated at this point, and need to be brought up to date, so that ranked pretty high. Re-roofing district-wide was also a pretty high priority, and replacement of the Kennedy and ECC portables into a brick and mortar facility. That's something that if you haven't been to ECC or Kennedy Hall lately, I would invite you to go by and just look at all the different issues that these young children are facing, having to be in the portable building setup. And so that's the reason why I think that one ranked pretty high in the overall list of priorities. The same's to be said with respect to the portable buildings at EP High School. Those need to be replaced with a more brick and mortar setup. There was a desire to have a covered bus loop for the kids at Eagle Pass Junior High, and when we actually went and saw that campus, you could tell, in inclement weather situations, there is a tiny little porch for EPJ students to kind of seek shelter when waiting for their rides to get there. So that ranked pretty high in the priorities. A lot of campuses like Glass Elementary, Seco Mines, you have your life skills students outside when they should be in an inclusive environment inside. And so that ranked up pretty high as well. Kind of rounding out the district-wide priorities, district-wide, you need gyms at your pre-K campus so that the kids can have activities not in the cafeteria. And so that ranked pretty high up there. Replacement of the roofs at the elementary school gyms, replacement of drinking fountains district-wide, the parking lot resurfacing and conditioning, and then replacement of elementary gym floors as well. I think we've got some cost estimates for you. The replacement of an elementary school is roughly $19 million. One of the things that was kind of low on the list because it was a want versus a need was the natatorium that's been dreamed up of for a long time, and the approximate cost of that would be $8.75 million. When you look at how we ranked the items, if we were to select every single item that was on the list identified as an area that needed to be addressed by the district, the cost of that would be $150 million. If you just take the top 100, it would be $122 million. The top 50 items would be $88 million, and the top 25 items would be about $78 million. And so Mr. Powell also crunched the numbers to factor in, as far as the priorities are concerned, what that would wind up costing in the long run. And so we're here to answer any questions that you have on this presentation. Obviously, Mr. Powell's here as well, and he did the deep dive on the numbers and can answer construction-related costs. But if you look at the total priorities listed up to 176 items, the total cost of that to the district in today's dollars would be $150 million. So.
I'd like to first thank you all for being part of the committee. And I do want to thank Mr. Heredia for saying this is for our kids, because that is very important. Do you have any questions from the board?
Same thing. I just want to thank you. I think that your presentation was well on point. I think you share our views, and it was very well presented. I think those are definitely needs that we need to address. So thank you. I believe that we're all in agreement as far as at least your wants and your needs versus your needs. So thank you all. And the rest of the committee, of course.
Thank you.
Okay, I got it, I think. Usually when you talk about a facilities committee, well, we're thinking about new schools. I know in this case, that's not the case. The whole presentation, I think, had possibly one new elementary. But in the eyes of the committee, are there any campuses that just has too many portable buildings, or that we just need to maybe not try to add to it or anything else, just knock it all down and maybe replace them?
There were two campuses that we looked at, the ECC, which has a lot of portables. The other one was Kennedy Hall, where, looking at it, yes, portable buildings are expensive, but then they deteriorate faster. So that's why it's better if, at least ECC, we will recommend that they tear them down. If you can move the campus somewhere else, great. And if you need to build on it, that'd be great. There was another campus we looked at, we walked through it, Juan Seguin Elementary. And we don't have enough students. There's a lot of repairs and things that need to be done. But then if you do that, what are you going to use it for? So that may be one of the campuses for you to consider maybe closing down and then getting those students to another school. That would be something that would be feasible and practical for the school district and for the students that are attending Seguin Elementary School. I know people look at it and say, well, I went there and there's a lot of history, but we have to look at the cost, and we have to look at what's practical for the students, for the families, and for the school district. So we would need to set the emotion aside and be more practical. But those are some of the campuses that we looked at that we felt like there's too many portable buildings and they're not serving the purpose that they need to. And again, going back to some of the comments, we need to keep in mind, what is safer for the students, what is more practical, what is more convenient. And that's the main priority, keeping our children safe, providing good learning facilities. And so sometimes we just have to bear the cost. And that's why we were looking at what is needed, not what is wanted. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
And if I may, Mr. Lipson, Juan Seguin blew my mind whenever we went through that, because apparently it was constructed during a time where like communal learning was a big thing. And so in Juan Seguin, what you have is you have elementary level kids that have like a 3/4 of a wall, and the top part of the wall was open in the entire campus. And so as I'm walking through, we were there during the summer, and I'm walking through thinking like, how does this work? Because you don't have anything that's a barrier to the sound into the next classroom and the next classroom and the next classroom. And so, and also I think the population is really, really low there at Juan Seguin as well. So that would be one that maybe you just take out of service and repurpose the building for something else.
I have one question. You mentioned that the facilities committee met with the campuses and got information from everybody. What percentage would you say that you talked to the administrator or the principals or the people in charge of those campuses when you're basing your decisions? Because obviously they're the ones that are there every day. They see the problems every day. It would be good to see, what their input would be on these things.
We received written feedback from every single campus. However, we only actually interacted with the campuses that we visited, which I think Mr. Heredia went through a list of those campuses that we actually visited, but we received written, I think each campus was given an opportunity to provide sort of their wish list, want list, needs list, and we contemplated those in doing our evaluation.
Okay. Yeah, that led me to my other, because I know each campus has like a 5-year wish list or something every year. and some of those things don't get repaired for 25 years. So
Right.
it's good to know, what the main needs are at each campus. But yeah, there is a big need, and I agree with your number one on that one. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Good evening, members of the board. For the record, David Gonzalez with PFM Financial Advisors. We're the FAs to the district, and with me also is your bond counsel from Escamilla and Ponic, Juan and Humberto Aguilera. Everybody should have a hard copy presentation in front of them. I'm going to go ahead and dive into a lot of the numbers that were just presented by Katrina and Mr. Heredia on kind of the needs, the facilities needs across the district. If you all have any questions at any time, just go ahead and ask and interject. I'm happy to answer anything as we begin along the way here. If you jump there behind tab number 1 into district profile, it's slide number 3. This is just a snapshot of the current debt currently of the district. District does not have a whole lot of debt. You have 2 outstanding bonds. You have some maintenance tax notes from 2019, and then you have some unlimited tax refunding bonds from 2016. So overall, currently you have about 34 million total in debt, and then the bottom, that bar chart, that just shows you, kind of gives you an idea of what your debt service looks like every year. So you have level debt service roughly about 3.6, 3.7 million a year for the foreseeable future. So you do not have a lot of debt, and I'll get into a little more specifics of that here shortly. If you jump over to the next slide, slide number 4, this just gives you a breakdown of what's been happening to your property values, your M&O tax rate, your INS tax rate, going back to 2021. So currently, your net assessed valuations are about 3.7 billion. Your M&O tax rate is about 75 cents. Your INS tax rate is about 6.9 cents for a total tax rate of 82 cents. If you look at the second column for the far right, the total tax rate, in 2021, your total tax rate was $1.14, and now you're down to 82 cents. A lot of it has to do with the compression from the state, but currently your INS tax is one of the lowest in the regions, and we'll get into that shortly. If there's not any questions on this slide, I want to jump over to the next slide. This is just some information along the way of putting this presentation together that we collected, but the last time the school district Eagle Pass did a bond election was in 2007, and that was for the SAC building. So it's been almost 2 decades since the district has gone out to the taxpayers for any kind of request for a bond election for facilities and needs of anything having to do with construction. Between 2017 and 2025, the district has cash funded about 90 million in capital projects. That's really unheard of. There's not a whole lot of districts that use cash to build elementary schools, middle schools, baseball fields, football fields. And I have all the examples there on the bottom in a footnote. That's basically everything that the district has done over the last several years with just cash. Not having to go to the voters and do a bond election, just pay out of the general fund for everything. And then lastly, the third bullet point there, since 2017, the district has also paid about 30 million in salary for professionals and other employees across the district, all with cash as well. So the district, needless to say, has done a lot with nothing but cash through the years. If you jump over to the next page, this is just gives you a snapshot of state assistance. So all the debt that you have, a piece of it is covered by the state. So for every dollar of debt going back, if you start on the left-hand side there in 2010, for every dollar of debt, the state was paying 65 cents on the dollar. And as you go through the chart on the far right, today in 2025, for every dollar of debt that the district pays, the state only covers now 26.9%, 20 cents on the dollar, 26 cents on the dollar, basically. The reason for that is because your property values have increased so much and your enrollment has started to come down the last few years. Obviously, after COVID, that's a common theme you see everywhere. But that's why the state assistance has come down. But if you were to pass a bond next year or whenever, you'd still get about 26 cents on the dollar covered by the state for any future debt as of right now going forward. If you jump over to slide number 7, here we have a credit rating. Similar to if you'd go buy a car, get a bank loan, a mortgage, you get a credit score. The district, all districts have a credit rating. The district has always been rated by Standard & Poor's and Fitch, and you have a very high credit rating. So currently what you have is an A1 and an A plus by Standard & Poor's and an A2A by Fitch. So these are two of the largest credit agencies in the nation. So what that means is when you go out and borrow money, you sell bonds, do anything of that nature, because you have such a high credit rating, you get a low interest rate because you have such a high credit score. So if you look on the column on the far right, the credit rating commentary, what this really means and what this means to have an A plus and an A2, how it impacts the district. Basically, you have well-managed financial operations and solid spending flexibility. You have very healthy reserves. The district has healthy general fund. And then you have low debt service carrying charges. The red dots there just show kind of some of the things that they take notice of. You have low income indices and then declining enrollment. That's just something that they just want you to be aware of going forward. But you have a very high credit rating for anything that you want to do going forward. So this is a testament to just kind of the finance department over the years. I'm going to skip tab 2, and I'm going to let bond counsel come back at the end and cover that one, the timeline. And I'm going to jump to tab number 3, the target bond amount. If you jump to slide number 11, these are some of your neighboring school districts. Laredo ISD, Medina Valley, Southwest, Seguin, Judson, Bernie, San Felipe del Rio, Catula, Carrizo. And if you look at in the center of the page there, we have the last time that these districts respectively had their own bond elections. If you look, Eagle Pass there is at the very bottom, and the reason you're at the bottom is because if you go to the far right, your INS tax is one of the lowest in the regions as well. So the max INS tax rate that a district can have is 50 cents. So currently the district is at 6.99 pennies. And the last one you did was 22 million going back in 2007 for the SAC building. So amongst your peers, you have the lowest amount of debt, and then you have the lowest tax rate as well. If you jump over to the next page, as you saw the presentation that Katrina put up, and she had a dollar amount, kind of what it would cost to fix everything. So this is just to give you a snapshot of what that looks like from a tax rate standpoint for the average homeowner in Eagle Pass if you all would go out for 150 or 125. These are just numbers for discussion purposes and illustration purposes. That's it. So if you look at the box on the top for the $125 million bond in orange there, you currently have 6.9 cents. That's your current tax rate today. You'd be looking at an increase of the INS of 14.1 cents for a total tax rate of 21 cents. If you were to move forward at some point for the $150 million bond, you have currently a 6.98 cent tax rate. That would be an increase of 17.1 cents for a total INS tax rate of 24.09. So if you go to the previous page, just to see where 24 cents gets you on slide number 11, even with a $150 million bond, you'd still be in the middle of that page where your peers are at today. So what that looks like for the average homeowner, if you go to the bottom of slide 12, we have it kind of labeled across the board, 1 through 12. And I'm not going to go through every single value, but for a $200,000 house, what that looks like on a monthly basis on column number 3 and 4, $7 for a $125 million bond, $9 for a $150 million bond. If you go to the far right of the page in columns 11 and 12, if you have a house worth $450,000, that's a monthly increase of $36 for a $125 million bond, or $44 for a $150 million bond. So for purposes of full disclosure, all these numbers are put together on a very comprehensive, detailed spreadsheet. On the next 2 pages, I'm not going to go over all of that. We just kind of summarize that and put it all in here. But this just gives you a breakdown how we arrive at these numbers, it includes your existing debt, individual bond sales, the state assistance you would receive, and then how you set your tax rates. But I'm not going to go through all of this. It's just a lot of information, and we try to summarize that as best as we can. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. If not, I'm going to pass over the presentation over to your bond counsel, and they're going to cover the timeline slides so they can give you an idea of what timing would look like for a May or a bond election. No questions? Okay. Thank you. All right. Oh, perfect. Yeah, there you go.
Good evening. My name is Juan Aguilera, and we work with the law firm of Escamilla and Ponick, and glad to see my colleague Valerie is also here. I bring Humberto to these meetings so he can be able to set me up because I don't know anything about computers. Humberto is also an attorney with our firm. He's also my son, obviously. But he's been with the firm for now 18 years doing public finance work. So very happy that he's here with us today so that he could be able to also not only assist me with the computer here, but also be able to make a presentation. So it's always a pleasure to come to Eagle Pass, and thank you, Mr. Mijares, Ismael, for inviting us to come over and be here. I know some of you. Morris, how are you doing? Some of the people with the gray hair remember me a lot more than the other people do around here, but it's always good to be here in Eagle Pass. Our firm represented the district back in 2006 when we did the election at that time, 2007. I think Morris, at that time, you were doing what Mr. Heredia was doing at that time. And it's hard work, and thank you very much, Mr. Heredia. Ms. Purcell also, thank you very much, because they've done the hard work, and now the legal, what our job is to make sure that everything that is done by the district is all done as required by law, so that way we can be able to move forward. We tell all our clients that you as a board, all you can be able to do is call the election. You can't decide what you're going to be doing. The voters are going to be deciding what they want to do. So you as a board, you're taking your authority to be able to, as the governing board of this body, to be able to call an election and then let the voters decide one way or the other what they want to do, and they will be able to move forward. We put together a little presentation here on the timeline of the things that are required. Some of these things, you are going to be familiar with these things because the majority of these timelines and things that have to be done are exactly the same things that you had to meet when you were running for the school board. These are things that are going to be required by the elections laws, election code. And some of these things are going to be a little bit more detailed that apply only to school board, to bond elections. So that's something that I'm going to go ahead and address. Now, Mr. Mijares, Ismael, were you able to give this? Okay. So if you look at this thing right here, you can be able to follow what I'm doing. But the first few things that we have here all in black, all the dates here from today, from November the 4th through February the 10th, these are different bond committee meetings, different meetings from the board, different things that are going to be discussed, and you'll be able to entertain and look at these things as these meetings and these dates come up. These dates are in black because these are, even though we feel that this is something that you probably will follow, but these are things that you could be able to move around and do some things. So you might look at these things and say, oh, that's a conflict of me, I won't be able to make this meeting, but some of these things, you can be able to move these things. I am going to address the ones in the red, which are the ones for the legal requirements. So the first thing that you'll note is that on Tuesday we have here, February the 10th is the date that we have for the board adopting an order calling the bond election. State law says that you need to call an election 78 days before the election. And so February the 10th is a date we're looking at. If you wait till February the 13th, that's the last day. And we don't recommend that you wait till the 13th, because what happens if you don't have a quorum, you're going to have to wait till the following uniform election date, which is in November. So looking at here we're looking at calling a bond election on February the 10th, 2026. The next thing we do is, and these are some of the things that Humberto and I, with your staff, will be working with. And I know that the district has entered into a contract with the Maverick County Elections Office that will be handling and doing a lot of the legwork. But as far as the polling places, the machines and all those kind of things, and the workers, all of that will be handled through them. But we will be working with the district, and with your financial advisor to make sure that we meet all the requirements by law. So on Monday, March the 2nd, we will have a notice prepared by that time, and that notice will be delivered over to the county clerks. That's as required by law. The next thing we got is this is new law, and Humberto will be addressing some of the new laws that have just happened in this legislative session. New law that now requires that 20 days prior to the bond election, we will have to file a report with them, and Humberto and I will work on that report so that make sure that you are within what the law requires, within the letter of the law. The next thing we've got here, and I'm going through this pretty fast so I can be able to allow Humberto to be able to address some very important information, is that we need to post the election, notice of the election, the bond election order, the voter information document, ballot and proposition. All of these things will have to be done in the district's website. We will prepare all these documents. All of these documents have very specific requirements by law that need to be done. So we will make sure that we will prepare all of these legal documents and present them and deliver them to the district so that way they can be done, posted and published as required by law. The next thing that we've got here is early voting, and that will start. Generally, what we have is 12 days prior to the election day for May elections. Now, Humberto will talk a little bit more about I mentioned the legislative session, but as you probably know, Senate Bill 2753 came in and made some changes to the election code. And one of the important things that it did, it said that elections will start 12 days prior to a measure or even your school board elections, but then also they will run all the way through to the day before election. So they will have all the way straight through to have elections, and then your schedule. Then you will have your election on the following day. The way it is right now, and the way it appears on this calendar or this timeline, is that it's the way the law reads as we speak right now is that 12 days before the election is when we start the early voting, and then 4 days prior to the election stops. Now, 2753 says that the Secretary of State's office, the elections office, is charged with coming up with some policies that will be able to, rules that will be set up so that we'll be able to follow. So as I'm speaking to you today, early voting will start on April the 20th, and we've got in here also a little bit further down the line that early voting ends on April the 28th. But I have an asterisk there saying that we are pending what the Secretary of State's office will tell us. So we know what the law says, as I mentioned, that early voting will start 12 days before and will end the day before the election. And the election day, we're looking at May 2nd. But until we get that report from the Secretary of State's office, what you have in front of you is what the law requires. So this is what you will need to do, but we will be on top of this so that if the law changes, if the elections office of the Secretary of State's office comes through and provides that report and the rules that we need to follow, we'll make sure we follow those so that, again, we're within what the law requires for you. The next thing we've got is this is all on the same date that we've got for the 20th, is that we will provide the order, as you know, and in it there's the voter information document. We will provide all of these things to the district so that the district will then provide it to the county, so that all these the bond election order, which includes the voter information document, is going to be placed at every single polling place. That's again a requirement by law. Also on the 20th, that's the last day to apply for a ballot by mail. And I put in there received, not mailed. So the county will have to have received an application for a ballot by mail by that date. If it's not there by that date, they will not be able to receive that ballot so they can vote by mail. And Wednesday, the 22nd, the law states that the notice of election, again, which we will prepare, needs to be published at least one time in a newspaper, a local newspaper, that will be able to tell you about the election, the amount, as when that's going to be determined, and other things that are required by law. That notice has to be published in a newspaper not more than 30 days, but not less than 10 days before the election. And in talking to Mr. Ismael Mijares, he was saying he'd like to do it on around April the 22nd. So that's what we're looking at. Here again, early voting ends on April 28th, which is the 4 days prior to the election. But again, the asterisk and the timetable that we provided, we will make sure that that's still the law as it is right now when we come around for the election. We'll follow and make sure that we follow and see whether the Secretary of State's office then publishes those rules. And then we have Election Day. In Texas, we have 2 uniform election dates, as you know, one in November and then one in May. So those are the only 2 elections. In the old days, it used to be that you could have an election on any day. As long as the board came in and called the election, you could hold it in a day. But things have changed now, so we only have those 2 options for calling elections. And the last thing is that we've got here is that we've got the election, just like your board elections, needs to be canvassed. And there's a lot of information in there, but we're primarily looking not later than 11 days after the election day. So we've got in there that we're going to look in around May 13th, 2025. And then the last thing in here, just like your board elections, there is an election contest period that the election code provides. So 30 days after the canvassing, at that time, all lawsuits, anything that might come up, at that point, they cannot be presented. So there's an election contest period that ends 30 days after that. Coincidentally, the Attorney General's office will not accept anything until after the 30-day election contest period as far as submission of paperwork for a bond financing. So this is something important. They'll be here. Now, Humberto, if you don't mind, can you tell them a little bit about the ballot and also about the new laws?
Sure, thank you. Good evening. Humberto Aguilar with the law firm of Escamilla and Ponick. Just wanted to quickly highlight, so there's been a whole host of real significant, impactful changes to particularly school bond elections in the last 2 or 3 legislative sessions. But one that I wanted to highlight rather quickly here this evening is SB 30 was passed in 2019. I'll talk a little bit more about it in a second, but what that did was it changed the way that bond propositions are traditionally presented to the voters. So we took your 2007 proposition right here, which again was for the Student Activity Center. That is typical language that we use, for 95% of our school districts. It was, construction, renovation, equipping of school buildings, and here we put with priority given to the Student Activity Center. Now, one big change you will notice is in 2026, if the board were to move forward with calling a bond election, we can only use capitalized letters, and in fact, we have to use capitalized letters for one statement and one statement that appears at the very top of the ballot, and that is, this is a property tax increase. So that is mandated by new legislation, SB 30. There's also some changes to the wording. There's talk about imposition of taxes as opposed to just simply the levying of taxes. So just something to keep in mind, this is new required language. We have to have in all caps, this is a property tax increase at the very beginning of the proposition. Also, you'll notice I identified this as Proposition A, and that's supposed to signify a reflection of the fact that we are also in a new environment, the same bill, where we have to have particular propositions for particular categories of projects. So again, SB 30 in 2019, one thing to note, it's kind of interesting, this was on the uncontested calendar at the legislature. So essentially fast-tracked legislation, passed unanimously in the Senate, nearly unanimously in the House. And for such an impactful bill, I was just kind of surprised to see how quickly this moved along. We had our legislative attorney try to give us some information on SB 30, some background information. There was really minimal floor debate, little information that we could pull from this. It really just flew by. But what it essentially did was it requires 6 categories of projects to be separated into separate propositions. So the first, anything relating to a stadium with a seating capacity of 1,000 or more, any work on that, even if it's just the lighting or even if it's just a refurbishment of seats, even if it's a small line item in an otherwise larger bond proposition, that needs to be a separate proposition. Same with the construction of an natatorium. Also, recreational facilities. Now, this particular category is a little bit misleading in the way it's written. When I first saw this legislation, I didn't think too much of it, to be quite frank. I saw a recreational facility and I was thinking, well, that must be facilities that have nothing to do with school districts, like a true recreational, maybe a community center or something that was outside the scope of traditional school functions. Well, that's not the perspective of the Attorney General's office. And in fact, they point to the language where it says a gymnasium, so a playground at schools. These are essential facilities for school districts. Those are actually recreational facilities that would be required to be on a separate proposition. However, they make an exception for gyms and playgrounds and play areas where you could have that still in a general proposition, but other recreational facilities, and it's usually now anything associated with athletics, has to be a separate proposition. So something to keep in mind. Wrapping it up here on the last 3 categories, any type of performing arts facility has to be a separate proposition. Housing for teachers, we don't see that too often. We've done a few of those for a couple of our clients in more rural areas. It would also have to be a separate proposition. And lastly, any acquisition or updated technology equipment has to be a separate proposition, except that technology for security purposes or technology that's integral to the construction of a facility can go into a general purpose proposition. So just wanted to highlight those kind of impactful, important changes since the district last called its bond election. And just by way of example, so if you take your 2006 and 2007 bond election, 2006, I believe it was for baseball fields and other athletic facilities. 2007, we had the Student Activity Center. All those would be a number of propositions. That wouldn't be a single proposition. You'd have the performing arts portion of the Student Activity Center being a separate proposition. You'd have the athletics being a separate portion and another proposition. You'd have the stadium improvements being a separate proposition. So you can see how it's a totally new landscape. And I'll leave you with this one last example, which I think is helpful to understand this change. We have a client that's covers a large geographic area. It's actually over 5 counties in the state of Texas, a single school district. And what they have done is each campus has its own football stadium, has its own performing arts type of facility. Well, even though it's one singular campus, they still have to break out those projects. So if you have a performing arts center in the middle of a high school campus, it has to be broken out. So what you could be left with is vote approve the school building portion, but you don't have the money to do the football stadium, or you don't have authority to do the performing arts center. So really a whole new landscape. Yes, Mr.
We're
Barrera?
going to be pushing different projects.
Yes, different. I'm saying, say that again?
We're not going to be pushing a whole bond, just different.
Right, exactly. So it'd be different propositions. Now, looking at the list that was presented here, I think you're going to have a single proposition that will cover the lion's share of the projects. And that's going to be your construction, renovation, and equipping of school buildings. But it's very much, I did see some projects there that would likely require separate propositions. So for instance, I live in Northeast ISD in San Antonio, and they just called a bond election with A through E for propositions. And that's what we're seeing now, particularly on larger bond propositions. You're looking at 5 propositions potentially, if not more.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Go back to the ballot.
Yes.
Right there. So there's a small little note in there, and I want to make sure that I point it out. So in 2007, as Humberto pointed out, we did a lot of these bond elections where we just says construction and equipping of school buildings. Humberto mentioned the teacherage, housing for teachers. Humberto did some research, and we were demonstrating to the Attorney General's office, found an old case, Supreme Court case that said that teacherage is a school building, so we did it under school building. But now if we were to do it today, it would have to require a separate proposition. I wanted to point out to here that we got here, obviously this can change, the 2026 as we're looking at. This will cover generally, and as Humberto said, the bulk of the things that we heard on the presentation can be covered under this one proposition. There also is in there and the purchase of necessary sites for school buildings. That's something we usually include, and it's used in there. That is there so that in the event that you need to purchase a property for that particular school that you're looking at, it has to be related to the projects you're looking at. Then it gives you the flexibility to be able to do that. And if you decide later on that, no, we're not going to use that money for those things, then we can leave out that language out. The other thing I wanted to do on that note that we put in there, if you're considering buses, I don't know, and I didn't hear any buses over here, but if you are considering buses, and they're very expensive, that is something that can be financed, and we've been doing this for several years now, with general obligation bonds or through these things. Through these bond elections. However, you need to be able to specify and include in the ballot that you're going to buy not only buses, they have to be new buses, or any other vehicles that are going to be used for student transportation. So those are things that we could be able to go in there and add, and we would if those are things you're considering, we would say those are the things that you need to add. Again, I don't know. I mean, I didn't hear any buses, but just keep that in mind. Any questions on all the boring legal stuff?
Mr. Aguilar, I just have one question. So supposing we we went for $150 million bond, and we have 3 propositions under it. Do you have to specify the dollar amount for each proposition?
Yes.
So each one will be categorized.
If you have 3 different propositions, yes. And so you'll also notice that it says an amount not to exceed. So we would put down that dollar amount. Mr. Gonzalez here was very helpful and will help you because there's also, you can be able to pay cost of issuance from these things. Okay. But if, let's say you did 150 and then you come out with a better deal, you find out before the election that you could actually do everything for 145. You can actually then do you can issue 145 million and then leave the 5 million there without having to issue that. That decision will be made once all the bids come in, everything comes in, and we get close to selling bonds. You could be able to do that. Keep in mind an amount not to exceed. So if you have a situation like we did, Humberto and I did in a school district where they had a bond election, then they came in and said, all the bids came in and they were $25 million short. They called an election for the following. I told them, I don't think it's going to go, but it passed. So for us, it's easy because we just say, what is the amount? Mr. Mijares will tell us the amount. We put it right there, and we just tell you, make sure you understand an amount not to exceed, so that include all the costs that are going to be in there. The difficult thing is going to be for your architects, those are the people that are going to have to come up with the numbers to be able to come in and give us that number. But that's a good question. So for every proposition, we would have to include in there. Notice, we do not put in there, and of that, 5 million for roofs, so much for this, so much for that. That's something that you will then decide as to how you're going to spend it, and to make sure that you meet the needs, or what you please deliver on what you promise the voters.
Thank you.
Does the proposition have to be, like, say we wanted to make an elementary, and you have to, in other words, does it have to be separate from the building? Like, say we wanted to build a gym along with it?
Go ahead.
So the elementary school, the district always has the option of creating as many propositions as you want. You can get down to particular project, but an elementary school would qualify for what we call a general purpose bond proposition. So it'd be typically you see those as Proposition A. Those are usually the first proposition. So the elementary school and the gym at the elementary school could all be included in that general purpose proposition.
Okay.
Along with roofs at other campuses and.
But does the building have to be, like, would you need a proposition if it wasn't attached to the building? Like, say, for a band hall at a high school?
So a band hall would still be able to be included all under one general proposition, but a good example of what would have to be carved out, even if you had under one roof, if you had a performing arts center or a true competition gym where it was just for competitions, not necessarily like a school-wide kind of function, so more of a stadium. You'd have to carve out that stadium. You'd have to carve out the performing arts, even if it's all under one roof. It doesn't matter if it's separated or not. So that's what leads to difficulties, particularly for some districts, where they have multiple facilities under one roof. They're pitching the idea of a new high school campus in one particular region that's going to have a football stadium, that's going to have something for performing arts. And the voters may come back and say, no, you can just do the performing arts, but you can't do the high school. Well, then they're just stuck because, they're not going to go out and build the performing arts center when they needed the high school. So it becomes a challenge.
This might make it harder to get your wants instead of your needs.
So we do see still a higher success rate with those general purpose Prop A type bond elections. You do start seeing and it's interesting, I think by way of operation, or I don't know the explanation for it, but, taking again Northeast ISD where I live, Proposition A through E. Well, it so happened A, B, C, I believe, passed, but D and E did not. So it's just almost, I don't know if it's voter psychology or what it is, but the further down the list you go, we see a lower success rate on some of these bond propositions.
Yeah, I think this recent bond election that failed had about 5 or 6 different things on it. And I think it failed across the board because of one thing that the voters didn't agree on. So
Yep.
You have to be very careful of how you.
And when this language of this is a property tax increase first came into effect in 2019, it had a huge impact. We saw a lot of the passage rate that we traditionally saw drop dramatically. And so the way that this language, when it was first introduced in 2019, it would typically appeared at the end of the ballot. So it didn't specify, where it would go. So we would put it at the end, and you'd have all capital letters. So it would kind of blend in. I mean, it'd be one statement. But the legislature, this last legislative session, said no more all caps except for this statement, which needs to be at the top.
As a voter, it hits you.
That's what jumps out first. That's the first thing the voters will read is this is a property tax increase.
Right.
Just a question. We have some campuses that don't have a gym, especially at the early childhoods. So can we include that in a general statement to gym?
Yes, so it would still be under the general proposition.
Any other questions?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity again to be here, and we're here at any time. We will make sure we will work very hard and very closely with your staff, with Mr. Mijares, both Mr. Mijares, and with all the staff to make sure, and as the projects come out and if they change or whatever, we will make sure we will read and review all those things so that once you go to the voters, that you're doing what the law requires. And that's the easiest things. And again, we just had elections in not too long ago, we saw that, like Humberto was saying, it's really becoming more and more of a challenge to have this information where you go in, the first thing you see, this is a property tax increase. So that's going to be a challenge. I think that one of the things that Mr. Gonzalez, David, was addressing, which I thought was very good information, David, that you brought up, was that the amount of per month that is spent for a household, depending on what the value of your household, that's something that it's good to be able to drive that information and let people know. And I always tell all our clients that for example, the $7 per month, that's like a Whataburger maybe and a soda. If you're going to go to Foot Rockers and you want a beer, that's going to cost you a lot more than that. So these are things, I think, that there's ways to be able to present this. And yes, it's going to cost money, but it again, as was noted by Mr. Heredia from the very beginning, this is for the kids.
Thank you. If we have some other questions, can we take it to executive session?
I always have a problem with this. Yes, you can. At the beginning of our notice, there is language that says if you need any private consultation on a matter on the agenda, you can certainly do that.
And just to let everybody know, there hasn't been any votes or anything yet on bond, so right now this is just the presentations. Thank you. We'll move to action items. Number 1, consider and take appropriate action on the request to adopt resolution 2025-2026-08 to vote for members to service on the board of directors of the Maverick County Appraisal District, MCAD.
Yes, Ismael, I don't know if you have any direction for this. I don't know, are we supposed to name the current?
No, everything, you just need to vote.
We just need to vote for it?
Yes.
Okay.
Vote on?
Excuse me?
Vote on what?
On the list of the names that we have on the agenda and the votes.
So we
If you go to,
did we end up keeping the 3 members, or we got
yes,
rid of
we're
one?
gonna take the 3 members with the votes that we have available. Go to page 69.
We're just voting on our members.
Yes, page 69, we have the ones that that were elected last time at the last board meeting, and we have the votes next to each other. So the one that doesn't have the votes is Mr. Hiller. He's at 670. So that's what we were told to take the names and put the votes. Only the votes that are ours.
Okay. So do we have a motion to accept the votes that we do have for Tom Gonzalez, Christopher Hiller, and Victor Perry?
I so move.
We have a motion by Trustee Martinez. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Hiller. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Unanimous. Number 2, consider and take appropriate action on the request that the district administration begin planning and budgeting for camera installation in all qualifying classrooms under TEC 29022, including determining the scope, equipment needed, timeline, and funding strategy. Mr. Mijares?
Yes, this is an item that Mr. Barrera requested to be put on the agenda, and I think it's a very good action to start taking right now. That way we we protect the staff, the students, and everybody in those units. And I think that this will allow us to work on a timeline and a specific funding sources so that we can start doing that in every single life skills classroom.
Are there cameras already installed in some of these?
And most of them, they are. We just have to turn them on.
Okay.
And but if we will do an assessment to see where we don't have any cameras that have never been requested, so we can start working on that project.
When you say turn it on, there has to be a request?
There has to be a request, yes, and this will allow us to.
Is this the request right now?
Yes, this is the request to turn on the cameras that we have right now, and then we continue working on a timeline so that we can work on the rest that we don't have.
Good.
Just to, question, just to clarify, does the request by a board member or a parent have to be requested on a yearly basis?
That's something that right now, we're doing this right now. And then once we have all that, all the timeline and everything equipped and installed, then maybe we can come back and we'll ask our attorneys if we need a separate policy for that.
I mean, I don't understand. If this is done, then
does this
they're
become
already
policy?
installed? Do you still have to keep requesting it?
No. Not all of them have them, so right now what we're doing is the motion will be for them to look into what needs to be done, prices and things like that. And then I think it's the request to turn on the cameras.
So not all of them have them because of budgetary limits?
No, it's that some of them have it because it has been requested before, and some of them don't because they have never been requested before.
They have to be requested.
They have to be requested by law,
By law.
by a parent, a campus principal, or a board member.
Well, isn't that what he's doing?
Yes.
2 out of those 3.
No,
Yes.
but I mean, he's requesting it from here on out.
Yes.
You are going to
Yes.
install them
So-
in all the classrooms that need
Yeah,
it.
yes,
Qualify.
now we will have direction from the attorney to see if from now on.
Yeah, there was some new laws that just came out of legislative session, so we're working on them. TASB is just releasing the update 126, so we're working on all the new laws to make sure we're having compliance. This is one of those.
And my question was, is he gonna have to keep requesting it every year so that he's aware that we will need to keep doing
That's
this based on those law changes?
I have to double check that.
Yeah, and also what we need to do, and I think it's important for this board to, if we can create a policy where we don't have to be renewing it every year.
I was gonna say, can we vote on it perpetual?
Yeah, so we'll work on a policy, so if this does it for us, that we don't have to bring it every year, then we'll leave it as is. I mean, if we have to bring it up another policy.
Can we do a motion that says to do it perpetual on a yearly?
We'll just leave it as is for now, and then.
So they bring the language.
Yeah, till we look at the language, and then we'll come back if we need to do it.
I mean, as a board, it's a no-brainer. It's a win-win across the board. It's liability, protection for the kids and parents, protection for the school district. So I've never seen it be a negative in anywhere we've seen it, so that's why I requested it.
The ones that are installed, have they been used before?
Yes, they have been used before, but it is, I believe they're supposed to be requested on an annual basis. And we want to make sure that, and for us to protect all the students and the staff, that it's something that is already done due to the policies that we have in our district.
And implemented.
And implemented, yes. That way, from now on, don't have to come here and ask for it, or parents don't have to request it because it's already on.
So the motion is gonna read exactly what it says there?
Let's see here. And the requested district planning budget. You're just authorizing the administration to plan and budget for camera installation in those classrooms that qualify and are required under that new statute. So.
Okay, do have a motion? We have a motion by trustee Jaime Barrera.
I'll second.
Do we have second? Second by trustee Lipson. Any questions? If not, all in favor? All opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Number 3, consider and take appropriate action on the request to award sealed proposal number 262311 for Eagle Pass Junior High Field House remodel, and the board delegates the superintendent or designee the authority to make related budget purchases of goods and services as per board policy CH, and to amend the budget accordingly to include matters related to this project and to make the final payment for services. Mr. Mijares?
Yes, let's, Ismael has you have the proposals.
And he's negotiating with the vendors, the ones that submitted a bid. And we are looking at having that hopefully by next board meeting. He feels he can save some money by making some changes. So those two bids, it's two bids, one for Eagle Pass Junior High and one for Memorial for the renovations to the field houses that we haven't done since those schools were open. So we feel that it would be in best interest to go ahead and try to negotiate and then bring back the information in December, if that's okay with the school board.
So bids already been turned in?
Yes.
Where you have?
Yes, he has it.
Did we have several bids?
Yes, we got two good bids. I was very pleased that we had two young up-and-coming contractors that took interest in the project, gave us proposals. I did have some sticker shock, and so I wanted to kind of parse through the highest ranking proposals and bring back a proposal that I'm comfortable with presenting to the board.
We feel we can save some money by doing that.
So what are we going to take action on right now?
Table the two items.
Table two. Okay.
Please.
They're tabling those? Okay.
Do we have a motion to table number 3, number 4?
I just have a question before we motion.
Yes, sir.
When did the request for these bids go out?
The request for these bids, when did the bids go out exactly? Like 4 or 5 weeks ago?
Probably early October.
Yeah.
Okay. I had not heard of it, so thank you.
We have a motion to table items number 3, number 4. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Gonzalez. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Perry. Questions? If not, all in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Items number 3, number 4 have been tabled. We will now move to consent items. We will take number 1, 2, and 3 together. Any questions?
I just have a question. It's just for information on item number 3. This is coming from the Win Football Boosters, and it's going into general fund, or where's it going?
Mr. Mijares?
Agenda number 3.
Consent items. The donation from the CC Win Boosters, Mr. Lipson is asking if that goes to the general fund or does that go directly to?
Yeah, we
Should go to the
we
football.
don't accept, we haven't accepted ever monies from booster clubs. Usually when the booster gives them money to the campus, it goes to their elementary fund.
So,
Would this go to the
but it's
elementary
allowable,
fund?
right?
Yes, it's allowable. It's
Yes.
allowable. The elementary fund is still our funds, but that's money that the principal has more control, and it's not in our M&O fund.
Okay, I have a question for council. I am the president of the CC Win School Booster Club. I need to abstain.
You can certainly abstain.
He's asking
Thank
if
you.
he has to.
Would you like to abstain? I mean, you certainly can abstain.
No, I'm just asking, I don't want any
Yeah.
illegality to be there.
Yeah. It's not required under the conflict of interest laws, but you can.
I think you're good. You can vote.
If I'm good, I'm good. I mean, I just don't want to
Yeah.
mess something up because
No.
a conflict of interest.
Yeah, it doesn't fall under the legal definition of a conflict of interest in this case. So you can vote on it if you'd like, or you can abstain if you'd like.
I mean, if I
They're
don't
gonna
have to
use,
abstain.
they're gonna use the money however they agreed that they would use this money between them and the campus. So it's not, we don't have a budget amendment coming into the M&O, we're not gonna control the money.
No, I don't have a problem with that. I just wanted to make sure I was.
He's
legal.
asking us as a board member, he's okay to vote on it.
Yes, it's okay
And
to
just,
vote. Yeah.
just to clarify, Mr. Mijares, this will go into the elementary fund for CC Win to be solely used for the football program, correct?
That's the way it's stated.
Okay.
Well, if we have to state it.
Yes.
No, it's right there. This is just a consent item.
It's the way it's stated.
High school
Okay.
football program.
Okay, I understand.
That's how you were approving it.
Do we have a motion to accept the consent items? Motion by trustee Jaime Barrera. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Gonzalez. Questions? If not, all in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Please thank Aggregate Holler and the football boosters on behalf of the board, please. At this time, the Board of Trustees of the Eagle Pass Independent School District will convene in closed session as authorized by the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, to deliberate upon the following matters. 1, the board will hear the request to hire personnel to fill vacancies pursuant to TGC 551.074. Do I have a motion to convene in closed session?
So move.
I have a motion by trustee Hitter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Martinez. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. The time is 7:38, and the date is Tuesday, November 11, 2025, and the Board of Trustees is now in closed session, and no action will be taken in closed session.
Mr. President, I move to approve the request to hire personnel to fill vacancies as discussed in closed session.
Motion by trustee Hitter. Do we have a second? Second by trustee Gonzalez. Questions? If not, all in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. We now move to correspondence and information. Mr. Mijares.
Yes, a reminder, Friday, November 21st, we will have our Thanksgiving luncheon here at the District Service Center at 11:30, so you can join us. We are going to have Thanksgiving holidays November 24th through the 28th. Also, Eagle Pass ISD tax office will be closed for Thanksgiving holidays, Wednesday, November 26th through Friday, November 28th. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And I'll move to adjournment. We have a motion to adjourn. A motion by trustee Perry. Do we have a second? Second by trustee Martinez. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. The time is 8:32 and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.